Hello, hello. This is Cage's is another installment of Cage's Comments, and I am Alex Cage. And today we will obviously the morning after the Knicks are crowned the 2025-2026 NBA champs. We will be reacting to this. This video will be almost entirely on the Knicks and my thoughts on their whole postseason run and Brunson and all of it. I will, as a Spurs fan and as someone who picked the Spurs, and as someone who is basically exclusively so far focused on the Spurs for these, last couple of series, will make another video on the aftermath of this season. Um, short, short version of that for the Spurs is I think it feels horrible and it's a horrible way to end what was ultimately still an awesome season for them. But the Knicks, the Knicks won Game 5 last night. They won it in the same fashion that they won basically every game in this series, which was they got down double digits after the first quarter. They were down and trailing nearly the entire game, and they just walked the Spurs down and they said, we know that you're going to make mistakes at the end. We know that you don't know exactly who or what you want to get into in the clutch and in the late game moments, and we do. We know exactly who we want to get to. We know exactly what we want to get to, and we don't even care if Karl-Anthony Towns gets himself in foul trouble and is out. We still know exactly what we want to do, and we're going to do it, and we're going to do it better than you. So that's how they won these games. It was a great run in this series from them, and it has been one of the most dominant postseason runs ever. I'm sure at this point, almost everyone has seen the margin of victory stats for the Knicks. Uh, I was I was thinking about this. They lost three times this postseason. They lost twice to Atlanta in the first round, and then swept the Sixers, swept the Cavs, and dropped one game here to the Spurs. Since the NBA has gone to a 16 team format in 1984, there are now 10 teams that have won the title with three or more losses in their playoff run. They are, in chronological order, the 86 Celtics, the 87 Lakers, the 89 Pistons, the 90 or 91, excuse me, Chicago Bulls, the 96 Chicago Bulls, the 99 Spurs, the 17 Warriors, the 2024 Celtics, and now the 2026 Knicks. All of those teams, almost all of those teams, I should say, besides the Knicks, they won 60 games, or in the case of the Spurs, they were on pace for 60 games. That was a shortened season. The Spurs won 37 of 50 games. That's a 60-win pace. And they were all, with the exception of the Knicks this year, the Lakers, and the Pistons, the uh, the first in the league in net rating that season. And the Lakers were the only team that had a kind of similar win and net rating profile, and this is the 01 Lakers to the Knicks. So the Lakers that year had 56 wins, and they were eighth in net rating. The Knicks this year had 53 wins and were fifth in net rating. The Lakers were the defending champs. So of the 10 teams that have done this, 9 of them were had already were either that year clearly the best team in the league, had either won a title, had massive, historical superstars. They gave you some reason to believe during the regular season, oh no, this is the best team during the regular season, they're doing during the previous, but this is the best team in the league. They can absolutely go on a run if they turn it on. We know what that can look like, and that can have a dominant playoff run, right? The Celtics in 24 were probably the closest to. We weren't really sure because we hadn't seen them do it, but they were dominant through the postseason and then dominant through the regular season. The Knicks were not. The Knicks were the 3 seed. Uh, they had another 60-win team in with a superstar, with a first team All NBA guy uh, in their own conference, and it seems like just 3 months ago we were like, man, you gave up 5 first-round picks for Bridges. Are they going to trade Karl-Anthony Towns for Giannis, right? And they just quite simply turn themselves into a juggernaut in the postseason in a way that I'm not sure that I've ever really remember a team just yeah no we're just gonna yeah we were pretty good. We were pretty good. We don't have like a championship pedigree or anything, but we're just going to this postseason be the best team in the league for the 2 months that we need to be the best team in the league. And that is remarkable. It is a hell of a job. Karl-Anthony Towns playing the point center facilitator role and really kind of upping that is what did and launched that this postseason for them up until really the last 3 games of this finals, um, where he had a rougher time and obviously fouling out in this last game. But that's really what I remember. It felt like um, an NFL wild card team from back in the like late 2000s, early 2010s, where it's like they just got hot at the right time. And I'm not saying that to try and like dissuade. They were a very good team all regular season, but like that's what they just rose to another level that I don't think most of us thought they had or had shown a ton during the regular season. And it was awesome up until they did it to my team to watch. It just was. So shout out to them. Jalen Brunson gets Finals MVP, and the Knicks won these games because of better clutch play, and Jalen Brunson was the head of the tip of that spear in the fourth quarter for the series, so 5 games. He scored 56 points, and he did it on 53, 43, 88 splits. And that is how he joins the, pun intended, short list of players under, 6'3", of Steph and Isaiah Thomas as the best player on a champion at that height. There's not a history of that in the NBA, and he 100% defied the odds for that. And on a note, just somewhat of a side note on that case, as I get text in the group chat, I'm sure about that game, if you guys could hear. Um, if you raise I feel like we always say like 6'3" and under or 6'2" or like we're like trying to you could raise that height to like anyone under 6'5" or 6'6", and the list is Steph, Brunson, Isaiah Thomas, Dwayne Wade's really the only other name that you would add. Maybe Chauncey Billups if you think he was the best player on that '04 Pistons team, but the narrative kind of is that they didn't really have one, right? So regardless of like if you make that height, that arbitrary line or whatever, anything under 6'6", really, you're talking about 4 or 5 guys, simply put. And so he joins that list in spectacular fashion. Um, and I mean, he was second round pick. The Mavs lowballed him, the whole 9 yards. Um, it's a remarkable story for him. Side note, I think a bit of an awkward moment where his dad last night just like jumped in and was like, "No, he's not better than Ewing." I don't know that like in that moment that's necessarily what I would have done, but I do think he. I'm not a huge Knicks historian, so there are better people for that. But I mean, he ended the 53-year drought. He's going to be on the the list of greatest Knicks ever, and certainly feels like he should have a claim to the best Knick ever. Turn them back into perennial contenders uh, and ended the drought. So that's awesome. On that note, on the Jalen Brunson piece, I do think there will be an interesting. I will be interested as someone who cares and likes to have the discussions about who's the best player in the world, what are your rankings, top 10, top 15, all NBA teams, all of that. How high can this propel him, right? Just kind of by itself going into next year. Uh, I think the highest that I have him just off the top of my head this morning, sitting at 7. And I'll be curious. I'm sure someone's going to, I haven't seen it yet, put him into the top 5. I don't think there's an argument for that yet. I don't think he's better than Wemby, Jokic, SGA, Luka, Giannis as, as the top 5 players in basketball. But I mean, Ant Edwards, Cade Cunningham are maybe some of the guys that would have been right next, at number 6 or fighting for number 6. And it certainly feels like it's reasonable to put Brunson, right there, outside those guys. He 100% answers the question of can I be the best player on a title team? But from a league standing point, this feels very similar to the 2024 Celtics in terms of their best players are, you know, great players, really good players, but not quite that level of, MVP caliber superstars. Um, and so I think that's where he settles. But I'm really interested to see that conversation going into the summer and going into the new league year next year. Um, Got to wonder if maybe this also puts him kind of in a on the outskirts or maybe directly in like the actual MVP conversation. I wonder kind of how far this will take. But he was awesome. The Knicks were awesome. It was a dominant run, and they deserve all the credit in the world for it. So I will make a video, deconstructing or whatever, covering the my thoughts on the Spurs and moving forward. Again, I think the short of that is really just a horrible feeling of an end to a year where when you're up in all these games and then you lose them, but ultimately it was still a great season for the Spurs. Uh, but that is my comments for now. Like I said, I'll make another video probably later today or tomorrow on the Spurs. But shout out to the Knicks, 2026 champs. Um, can't wait for next season. Let's go.